Today we're working on lesson 13.6. You're going to be practicing with circles and squares and rectangles and partitioning them into equal pieces. I have some scissors with me because I was going to show you how to make your own square shape at home. You can use like a piece of computer paper or even a piece of notebook paper. And what you're going to be doing is folding one of the sides, one of those corners over. Make sure that these are equal and pulled down all the way. I just kind of drug a pen across the edge here, and that's where I'm going to cut. This is going to help you to make a square shape. So I have those scissors because I'm cutting this off. You can use this other piece that you're cutting off. You can use that as a bookmark if you wanted to. Find some creative way to reuse that. So here's my notebook paper, square shape. And then I have a computer piece of paper. I'm going to do that same thing, cut it right where that fold is. This is something that you probably have done before, but just in case you have no idea, I want to remind you that you can also make some square shapes at home. Notice that this piece is already folded, and that's kind of like a little line that shows you equal sides. So this triangular shape up here is the same size and shape as this one. So this is called a line of symmetry. So I could close it and I would have the same, I would have equal sides. If I folded it again equally, now I would have 4 equal pieces. Those are called fourths. So 4 equal pieces, the name of that is fourths. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 equal pieces. You can kind of see where those folds are. If I was writing this on my paper, what I would do is just have my square shape. Let me just get a little piece of paper. If you don't have any of that kind of paper, I have sticky notes. Sticky notes are automatically the size of a square, so I thought that would be a fun way. So if I was drawing that on my paper, what I would first do is I would go from one corner all the way to the other side. This turns it into halves. So I would have 1/2 and 1/2. If I added these together, that would be one whole piece of sticky. Now the second one that I did where I made 4 equal pieces, what I did first was I folded here in half, remember, just like that. And then I folded it again, and that gave me 4 equal pieces, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these are called fourths. And if I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 fourths together, it would be one whole. Now this is not something that you have to remember, but these are called halves and these are called fourths because those are equal pieces. There are 4 equal pieces for that. Another thing that I want you to be thinking about is another way that you could fold that piece of paper. I've got a lot of markers here. So here's my notebook paper, and I already had folded it in half, so we're going to just I'm going to flatten that out, make kind of it not look like it's there. There's another way that I could fold it instead of diagonally. I could fold it in half hot dog style. Hot dog just means it's long and skinny. It's a hot dog. So if I fold it in half hot dog style, I'm going to grab out a couple of these Post-its. And then I was to open it up. You can see that I have one piece up here that is the equal size of the one that is below it. So on my paper, if I was going to draw what I just did, I could draw it like this. Now remember, I could also flip this and I could have it this way as well. Those pieces and the size of them did not change. So no matter if I'm holding it like this or like this line down the middle hasn't changed. So there you go. If I wanted to turn it into fourths, that would just mean I have to fold it again. And how I'm going to show that fold on there is going to be a little different. And I'm just folding it in half again. Now, one of your problems says something about take a piece of paper, fold it in half and then fold it again, so that's kind of why I'm using those words. And so here I've just folded it in half again. That is making 4 equal pieces. So how I can draw that on here is I can just draw another piece right here. There's another way that we're going to be discussing folding the paper, and when I'm saying folding, I'm just imagining if I was going to cut it into equal pieces. I could turn this into thirds. Now, we've done halves, which just means cut it in half, so 2 equal pieces, and then we've done fourths, where you have 4 equal pieces. Thirds is going to be 3 equal pieces. This gets a little bit tricky, so I'm going to show you if you made a mistake, what it would look like. So let's say I want to cut this into 3 pieces. I've got this 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 pieces, but those are not thirds. This first one is so tiny. That's not an example. This is not an example of thirds. Well, what if I wanted to go diagonal? I've got 3 pieces. Are they equal? No way. Those are not equal. This piece is so much smaller. If these were brownies, I would pick, let me have that middle piece of the brownie, the biggest one. That is not equal. People would not be happy with you if you tried to share your food like that. So thirds, fourths, halves is referring to having equal pieces. So your job when you're cutting things into thirds, when you're cutting things into halves, when you're cutting things into fourths, what you need to try to do is try to make it so everybody would get along if those were the equal pieces. So I'm going to just kind of guesstimate. This is kind of where I think that's going to end up being for thirds. 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 equal pieces. That's my best try at doing those equal pieces. Let's try another one. 1, 2, 3. Those are 3 pieces, but are they equal? No, they're not equal. These 2 are much smaller than this one here. That's a non-example. No, those are not thirds. Thirds, 1, 2, 3, 3 pieces that are equal. Now, these are squares. I want to talk about rectangles. How would I cut some rectangles into thirds? Those might look a little bit different. So I'm going to draw a couple of rectangles. Maybe I'll just draw them looking very similar. All right. What if I want to go that hot dog style? So I'm going to try to cut. And here we go. Those are about equal. I've got 1, 2, 3 pieces. I can call this as being cut into thirds. I could also cut them hamburger. Remember, those are a little bit fatter. And I can go 1, 2, 3. These are also thirds. Here are 2 ways to cut a rectangle into thirds. Can I try to make some triangular shapes to cut into thirds? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. No, that's not really working out very much, is it? Those are not equal pieces. This is a non-example. No, no, no. That is not a way to cut the rectangle into thirds. Fourths are a lot easier when it comes to rectangles. Fourths, rectangle. Here we go. I'm going to try to make it a little bit better. Pretend like that's equal. All right, so we've got fourths. Remember, we can go skinny, skinny, skinny. The trick for doing fourths is to first cut that thing into halves and then cut the half in half, which makes fourths. So I found the middle spot here, and I'm going to cut this middle spot here. Eek. That's a little bit of a crooked line, but you know what? I know that I did my best to try, so it's okay. Here are 1, 2, 3, 4 about equal pieces. We're going to call those fourths because there are 4 equal pieces. 4 equal shares. We're calling that a partition, okay? P-I-E-C-E-S, 4 equal pieces. We've got fourths. There are other ways that we can cut into fourths. What if I cut this in half, right? Remember when we're doing fourths, and we can cut it in half and in half. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 equal pieces. I like the way that those look much better than those really skinny ones. So this would be fourths as well. I just thought of another way I can cut this. Oh my goodness. All right, so what if I do that same cut in half here, and then I'm going to cut over this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another way to make fourths. Oh, you're right. I totally could do that. Let's see. I'm going to move my thirds out of the way. Skinny, skinny, skinny. Now, this is where you have to try really, really hard because it's hard to go from one corner to the other corner, but we can do it. So there's 2 equal pieces. That would be halves, but I'm trying to go for fourths. So I need to cut this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 equal pieces. Those are called fourths. So here are several different ways on how to cut into fourths. Let's talk about a way that is not a way to cut in fourths. What if I cut it like 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are not equal. So since they are not equal, this is not a way to cut it into fourths. Fourths have to have equal pieces. If I was to cut this way, it might look like it could kind of be equal, but since you can't measure, we're not going to say that that is fourths. If you had a measuring stick and then you could figure it all out, then we're not. What if I cut it way up here? Those are not equal pieces. You cannot call that fourths unless you know for 100% that it is equal and that each piece is exactly the same. So this is with our rectangles. Circles are really, really tricky. I brought a couple of things with me to try to make some circles. But now since you have the hang of a lot of these, I think I might not have to do quite as many. I just grabbed a bowl. And I'm going to use this to try to hold it still and make as good of circles as I possibly can. It is kind of slippery on here, so just bear with me. These are my best circles that I can do. I would say when it comes to circles, the hardest thing is drawing them in thirds. I'm going to try a different circular thing. Maybe this won't slide as much. Yeah, it's not sliding as much. So we've got a cup. We did some bowls. I'm just trying to be quick so I don't waste up all your life. All right, so we've got some circles. We're going to be cutting them in halves, in thirds, and in fourths. Remember, halves is just a fancy way to say like 2 equal pieces. So if you cut something in half, you're cutting it into 2 equal pieces. Here's one piece, here's another piece. They're about equal. I would not say that these pieces here are equal. Those are not equal. This piece is much smaller. This is not cut in half. This is cut in half. So we've got one over here and one over here. I want to cut in thirds. How do I cut a circle in thirds? Let's see. What if I cut it like this? 1, 2, 3. That has 3 pieces, but hey, this middle piece is way bigger than the other pieces. This is why cutting circles into thirds is a little bit tricky. This is a non-example. This is not thirds. When you're cutting in thirds, I kind of try to think of like a peace sign. That's like my best way to explain that. So I go down about halfway, and then I go over, and so I'm trying to make my other pieces about that same size. See how it kind of looks like a peace sign? That's my best try. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 3 pieces that are about equal. So we can call that, this is thirds. When it comes to a circle and I'm cutting it into fourths, which remember, fourths is 4 equal pieces, my first step is to cut it in half, and then I'm going to go the opposite direction and cut it in half again. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal pieces. Those are called fourths. So I've got a fourth up here, and then thirds look like this. You're not supposed to learn all of these fraction things until you are in 3rd grade, but you know what? It's not bad for you to know what that looks like. So today we talked about circles and rectangles, using those to cut into halves, thirds, and fourths. Here are some examples. You're going to have to come up with a few ways that are actually true. So remember, when you're cutting them, you want them to be equal on both sides. When you're cutting them, you want them to be equal. Don't do things that don't make sense. So with your rectangles, remember, you want your sizes of your pieces to look about the same. You want each piece to look equal. All right, you've got this. Take care.